In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how we went from this to creating something like this. So stay tuned. Hey guys, in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create this cover. I left all the assets for you to download in the description below, including the PSD, so you can play around with it. The only plugin you'll need is Topaz Labs. I left a link to their website down in the description below as well. The video is split up into 4 sections. The first one being compositing, second blending, third color grading, and the fourth refinements. So I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed watching. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get started with our compositing. Let's head over into our assets folder. You can go ahead and download it in the description below. I left the link for it. Alright, so when we open up our assets folder here, you can see that we have 5 PSD files. All of them except one is already cut out because I didn't want to spend too much time cutting out. So let's go ahead and open all the PSD files up. So we got that one, we got this one right here, we got this one, and this one. I actually take that back. All of them are cut out. I thought I left one to be cut out so I could show you guys how I go about cutting it out, but it's pretty simple. Let me zoom in here. All I did was use the pen tool, so P for the pencil, and I just started doing the outline for what I want to cut out. So let's go ahead and drag all of these over into our canvas. So this one right here, we can go ahead and drag that right here, and we can close it out now. Let's go into our comp 2. You can drag this one out, put it in here, close this window. Let's go ahead and comp 3. Let's go ahead and drag this one out to our canvas. Let's close that out. But I forgot to tell you that the front cover PSD template is also in the description. Just go ahead and open that up. I already had it open, but you just go ahead and open it up. So let's go over to our comp 4, and for this one, we're gonna want the shadows. So you're gonna need to drag out the cutout and the original layer 0. Let's just rename it to shadows. Let's go ahead and group this together, and we'll just name it frame. Okay, so let's go ahead and drag that over into our front cover, place it in there, and now we can close it out. Actually, you could save it. And let's go into and this one as well, we're gonna want the shadows down here. We're gonna want those shadows, so let's go ahead into our layer 0 and name that shadows. Let's go ahead and group this together, and we'll name it comp 5 05. Okay, now let's go ahead and drag that over into our front cover canvas, and there we have it. And you can close out this one now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drag all of these between the noise and the background. To toggle on and off your guidelines right here, all you have to do is do Control H on Windows, and I'm not too sure about Mac, so good luck with that. Anyway, so I'm gonna toggle off the guidelines, so Control H. Let me go ahead and just turn off all these layers and start rearranging them. So first we're gonna want to set where our frame's gonna be. So let's go ahead and enable that. Here's our frame. So let's do Control T to get our transform tool here. And I have it on legacy mode. So if you go to edit, give me a second, let me cancel that. Edit, preferences, general. You have the checkbox for use legacy free transform, and what that is, it's just the old commands that were in Photoshop CS 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019, I believe. So yeah, it's just the way I used Photoshop, so I just go back to the legacy. Anyways, so Control T to open up your transform tool, and then if you want to get it from the corners up here, and holding Shift and Alt and just dragging it inward, you can see that it scales proportionally. If I didn't have the Shift and Alt, this would happen and it becomes distorted. So we want it to be proportionate. So let's go ahead and just drag this down, and that looks good right there. I like that. Let me go into my frame right here. On my shadows are going to be black and white, so I don't want any tint in them. You can see that there's a lot of noise, so what I'm going to do is just disable the noise and the parental sticker for now. That way we don't have to worry about that. The noise and the parental sticker are just that sort of finishing touch. So I'll disable that for now. So anyways, if we look at our shadows here, our shadow layer, we're gonna want to extract the shadows only. So by doing that, we set the blending mode to multiply, and what multiply does, like I just said, it only brings out the shadows. And you can see that there's color in there, so we're going to desaturate this image. So we'll do Control U, and that brings up our hue and saturation. If we go to our saturation, we will bring it down to desaturate the image. That means that there's no more color, the image is black and white. If we go to the right, we saturate the image so that literally saturates the pixels. So we're gonna bring that all the way to -100 and click OK. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get an eraser tool and just delete up here. We only want these cast shadows right here. That. So we could delete this, delete that. Don't delete too much down here, so because we're gonna want that shadow still. So we could delete this. Okay. And you can see that it's not that great. So what we're gonna do is get some curves, and what this is gonna do, we're gonna add contrast, and the more light we add, the more the light disappears. And it brings out our shadows only. So we're gonna create a clipping mask right here, and let's bring up the highlights so you can see what that does. Now it's only I can't even talk. I can never talk. Our shadows are becoming more apparent. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and adjust this. You don't want to add too much, and then right here we'll just create another curve and bring it downward to still retain some of those shadows. Okay, so something like that looks good. Let's go ahead and group these together, and we'll name that shadows. Let's go ahead and get let's go ahead and go to the shadow layer, create a layer mask, G for your gradient, and we'll switch this over to our black. So having our black, we're just gonna drag this way to get rid of some of these shadows over here, because that's way too much. Okay. And with the layer mask, we're working non-destructively, so that's good, because if we need to go back and adjust, we can do that. So you can see how I'm just doing this a little bit. G for my gradient mask, and for my gradient tool, and then we're just masking it out. And here, and you can see that there's a lot of noise within the shadows. So to get rid of that, we're gonna go to filter, camera raw filter, and we're just gonna denoise it. So let's zoom in here. We're gonna go into our sharpening and just bring down the radius and the detail. Then go to your noise reduction, and on the luminance, you're just gonna wanna take it all the way up. On your detail, lower it down a bit. And you can see how it becomes a lot more smooth, how it should be. There's no reason why the shadow should have any noise in them. Okay, that looks good. So I'm gonna keep it at 80, and on my luminance detail, I'll do 25. Now I'll click OK, and you can see how the shadows became a lot smoother, and that's what we want. Let me go back into my mask and just try to mask this out a bit better. Okay, looks good. I like that. I'm gonna go to my cutout and I'm gonna right click and apply layer mask, so we only have the frame right here. Okay, so let me close this down, and I'm gonna scale it a bit down. So Control T, holding Shift and Alt. I'm just gonna scale it down, something like that. That looks good. And now I'm gonna go into my, let's see, which one should I work with? I'm gonna go with this one right here. I'm not sure which number this was, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this. Control T. Actually, before we even do that, you want to right click, apply layer mask. Apply layer mask. Control T, and then we're just going to rotate it. You rotate it when you see the two little directional anchor points. So you can see that. Then holding Shift and Alt. Just gonna get in here and try to match it up, something like that. Zoom in here, make sure it's looking good. Control T's, move it around a bit. Okay, and let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks good. The hand might be a bit too big, but we'll go back and just adjust it. So nothing's finished, so don't feel like it has to be perfect. Just go ahead and put it in there, and eventually your eyes are just gonna catch that. Look, it's not positioned well. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get this one. Control T, holding Shift and Alt. We're gonna scale it down. Maybe something like Shift and Alt, scaling it down. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and disable it real quick. What I'm gonna do is make a mask for this. So let me create a new layer. And again, using my lasso tool, I'm just going to create the mask for this, something like that. And then all the way down here. And then right here. And up here. Okay. And then I'm going to get my black as the background, and then Control Backspace, and there you go. That's fine. Okay, so now we have that, and we're just gonna name this mask, and I'll place those all the way below here. It's just for reference. Okay, so let me enable this one, and then go to this one. I'm gonna name this one Comp 1. You always want to rename your layers, that way you know what you're working on. So on this mask right here, I'm gonna Control click it, then I'm gonna click on this hand, the one that we're just working on, create a layer mask, and you can see that it's only within the frame, but we want it sticking outwards, so all you gotta do is B. I'm gonna put my harness all the way up, and then just paint with white on this part. You can see how it just sticks out. Okay. And I think it's too big. In order, if you want to move it, you have to unclip it from the mask. That way the mask doesn't move with your image. So, whoops. So I'm gonna click on the hand, and you can see that it's still within those boundaries. But if I clip it to the mask, you can see that the mask also moves with it. and we don't want that, so we're just gonna clip it for now and then rearrange the hand. I think that looks good, and I'll just clip it back. And now I'm gonna make comp 2. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and create their own groups for them. So that one's comp 1, this is comp 2, and then that's the frame. Okay, I'm gonna bring this one all the way up, and this is, we'll name this one comp 3. Create a group for it, comp 3. Okay, so now that we create that group for that, go ahead and right click the mask and apply a layer mask, because we're not gonna need it. And this one, this comp 3 is supposed to be behind all these hands, so let's go ahead and drag the layer behind 1 and 2. Okay, and let's disable 1 and 2 and rearrange the hand. Control T, holding shift and null. Let's scale down. So it should be something like this right here. Something like this. That looks perfect. Okay, and remember, let's open it up here, and let's control click that mask layer that we had, and now we have the little outline of it. Let's go into our comp 3 layer, create a layer mask, and you can see it's within the boundaries again. And we're gonna get our brush tool, and we're just gonna paint right here with Y to expose this image, to expose this part here. Okay, we're pretty much done with that one. So let's put all the other layers. Whoops. Okay, and you can see that's hiding behind the other hands, but that's fine. Okay, so let's work on comp 5, which is the last one. So let's go ahead and right click the layer mask, apply to layer mask, because we won't need that. And clicking on the group, Control T, Shift and Alt, you'll just scale it inwards, something like that. And then I'm going to go to my shadows, Control U, and bring down the desaturation to desaturate it. Now we're gonna set the blending mode to multiply. Okay, get your eraser tool and cut and delete all this right here that we won't need. We only want the shadows right here and the fingers, below the fingers. Let me show you real quick. Create a, let me get my brush, red. So we only want these shadows right here. The rest of it doesn't matter. Okay. So let me delete, oops. Go to my shadows, delete that. Okay, I'm gonna toggle off my shadows real quick, because I wanna see where, make sure not to move the cutout separate from the shadows, because then obviously it's not gonna be in the right place. So you see how you want to move the group in together. So let me just toggle off the shadows and move the group together and find the right position for this. Let's see what looks good. I think that's a good position right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up my comp 5. Go into I'm actually gonna select the group instead, and control click the mask, and then create a layer mask, and you can see it's within that boundary again, but we don't want that, so we only wanted to keep this side from showing from that side right there. So let's B for your brush, and with the white, go ahead and paint this part back in. Okay, and then you gotta zoom in here to make sure it looks good. you can see that it's a bit off, so get your group and just move it a bit. Make sure you unclip the layer mask, that way you don't move the layer mask as well. Okay, there we go. I fixed it. And yeah, it looks good. Let me just put it back in a little bit more right there. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and enable my shadows. And that's not good because I cut off some of the shadows right there. So that's why you gotta be careful. So I cut that out and I'm working. Obviously I can't restore back these shadows because I already cut it. So I'm just gonna push in the hand a bit more. Whoops. Oh no, wait, hold up. Oh, okay, never mind. That's because it's of the layer mask. Oh, okay, so we're still good. So get B for your brush, and I'm just gonna go ahead and reveal this part right here. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so now we're gonna make the shadows blend in a bit more. And first we want to denoise it, so let's go to our filter, and then if you just click on camera raw filter, it's going to apply those same settings as the previous time. And there you go, you can see that it just applied it. Let's go into our frame and let's get that curves that we created for the other shadows. We're going to do Control J to duplicate it, and we're just going to go ahead and drag that one into our shadows here, create a clippy mask, and there we go. We create a group for it, and we're going to name the shadows. Okay. And you can see that it's not it needs working. So go back into your curves and it's just, whoops, let's see how that looks. That's way too much. You just want to go ahead and start messing with this to see what gives you the best outcome. So just mess around with it a bit. Okay, I like that. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead into my shadows right here. Create a layer mask. B for my brush. I'm gonna set the opacity to 20% and put the hardness all the way down to 0. And with black selected, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this right here real quick. So I'm just going in here and refining it a bit. Okay. Okay, let me zoom out, and you can see how it's already looking pretty cool. But these shadows right here, I'm not liking it. So, and plus it doesn't make sense. I'm gonna go into my frame, control click the frame right here. And then I'm just going to, whoops. I'm going to, what do you mean? I'm using a clump snap tool for some reason. Okay, so frame selected here, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this like that. And you can see that I just removed those shadows, and that's fine because we'll go ahead and add some more shadows in there in a bit. Okay. And it's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and move that mask inside the frame group. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the compositing. That was pretty quick. Now we'll head into our blending. Okay, so now we are in the blending. And if you zoom in here, you can see that the gloves have color in them. They have like this yellow greenish tint, and we don't want that. We want it all to be black and gray. So we're gonna go ahead and desaturate that. Okay, so let me go into Comp 5 and create a hue and saturation, create a clippy mask, and just desaturate it. You can see all those colored pixels that it has in there. It actually looks pretty cool. This right here looks cool. But I'm gonna desaturate it. Let me go into my other ones, and I'm just gonna do the same thing, just creating hue and saturation, clipping it, and desaturating our image. I'm not gonna do the same thing for the frame. For the frame, I'm gonna give it a maybe like a purplish color to it. So right here in our frame, let me go ahead and name this frame. Create a hue and saturation, create a clipping mask. I'm actually, let me see how it looks if I move it to the right. Kind of like the color of it. So I'm gonna do my saturation to 50. Then I'm gonna go into my yellows to remove some of that yellow tint that it has in there. So switch it to my yellow color channel and just desaturate it. I'm gonna head into my greens because I don't want any greens in there, and desaturate that. I'm gonna go into my blues and desaturate that. My cyan, desaturate that. Okay, and now I just have some brown color, and I like that, so I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. I'm not liking our background, so I'm gonna go into my background right here. All you have to do is the layer is locked, the group is locked, so you have to just click on the lock and it unlocks it. Let's go into our background, and I'm gonna select an orange type color, something like I like that. Let me copy the code real quick in case I don't want that. Okay, I like this. So the color code for that is F9 and 000. We'll go ahead and click OK. I'm gonna lock this layer because I don't want to be moving the background. Okay. And you can see that the shadows aren't matching. These shadows are a lot lighter than these shadows, but these shadows should be darker. So we're gonna fix that. So let's go into our frame and shadows and our curves and just make this darker right here. There we go. That looks good. So I'm gonna close that. And that's looking better. Okay. Let's see how it's looking. Yeah, I like the way it's coming out. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add some detail in the gloves using Topaz. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up Comp 5 and just do Control J, and it duplicates the layer. Then right click, create clip. Whoops. Right click, create. Where's the clipping mask? Clipping mask right there. And rename the layer to Topaz. I'm gonna go to Filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Adjust. Okay, and let's see which one we're gonna pick here. I think we'll do dynamic pop, the first one. And you just want to disable the noise, the color. And for the protect shadows, we're going to bring that to the left. Protect highlights, we'll leave it how it is. Let's go into our details. On our detail boost, let's put this all the way down to 1. And our strength, we're going to boost that up to 1.55. Okay, let's see. Let's mess around with this one. So for the adaptive exposure, I'll put it up. So 0.44. I'm gonna click OK, and let's see how this looks like. Yeah, I like how it looks. We'll just go ahead and create a curves afterwards and just adjust that. So we're just gonna go apply the filter for the rest of them. So let's go to Comp 1, Control J, right click, create clipping mask, Topaz, and like I already showed you, you just go to filter and click on that Topaz adjust, and it applies the previous filter with the same settings and everything. That way you don't have to go in there and doing it again. Okay, let's go into Comp 2, and I didn't. I'm gonna go right click, apply layer mask for that. Okay, so Control J, right click, create clipping mask, rename it Topaz. That way you know what you're working on or what it is. Go up to the filter and use that same setting. Okay, and you can see that it's a bit too, it just has way too much detail in it. And it's too bright, but we'll fix that, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's go to Comp 3, right click, apply a layer mask as well, Control J, right click, create clipping mask, rename it Topaz, filter, just click the Topaz adjust 5 and it automatically applies the filter. Okay, that looks good. Now let's head over to our frame, Control J on the frame, right click, create clipping mask, filter, Topaz. I'll rename the layer right now. Okay, and I'm gonna name it Topaz. It's I think I'm gonna lower down the opacity on all of them, so I'm gonna do 75. So now we have to go back and change the opacity of all those Topaz layers to 75 because it is a bit too much on all of them. 75, 75, and 75. Okay, that way it reduces the effect a little bit. Let's see how this is looking. It's looking nice. You go hit File. You could go ahead and save it. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is go into the hands, and since they're a bit too bright, I'm gonna go ahead and add some contrast and make the hands a bit darker. So let's start with Comp 5, and it'll be between the hue and the Topaz. Create your curves. Actually, put it above the hue. Okay, and from the bottom right here, I'm just gonna drag it down a bit, bring up the highlights a bit. Let me right here. Okay, let's see. Okay, maybe something like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get that same curves and apply it to all the other ones. That way it's that same setting. Control J, and then bring it down, right click, create clipping mask, and you can see I applied it to that top one. Okay, close that one. Control J, and then bring it down, create clipping mask, and then Control J, bring it down, create a clipping mask. Okay, and I'm gonna leave the frame as it is. And what I'm gonna do is, I still think the Topaz might be a bit too much. I think I might have to go in there and fix it. Let me see how 50 looks. No, just leave it. I'll leave it at 75 from now. I think this one especially right here just has way too much like detail in there. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create some shadows in the image. So let's go to comp 5. And then between the hue and topaz, I'm gonna go ahead and create a exposure and just bring the exposure down. We'll do like negative 0.80. No, that's, why didn't it do the 3 in there? Okay, so it's negative 0.80. And then fill the layer mask with black. Get your brush tool, make sure the opacity is around 5 to 10. I'll do 7. And then what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and start adding some shadows in here. Just trying to make it seem like the inside of the frame is, you know, like dark, and create some dimension in this. Let me start over real quick. Okay. Let me zoom out. It's looking good. Just gonna lower the opacity on it a bit. I'll do 75 on that as well, because it was just a bit too dark. Let me see how this is looking. Brush. Then I especially want to go over these parts that have highlights in them. Okay, so I'm just going here and start trying to make those a bit darker. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do it to the other one. So it's on comp 2. Go in here, and between the hue and topaz, create that same exposure, which was negative 3.80. Set the opacity to 75. Fill in the layer mask with black, get your brush, and color in with white. Okay. Zoom out. Looks good. Like that. Go back into that comp 1 and just which one? Oh, it's comp 5, my bad. Comp 5 and just mess around with the shadows a bit. Okay, looks good. Next, I'm gonna go into the frame, and between the hue and topaz, create that same exposure, -3.80, and I'm gonna fill them with black. And with your brush tool, just start painting some shadows right here, right below the hand, because we need some shadows in there. Okay, and we need some shadows here. Let me zoom out to see how it's looking. That's looking good. Just want to add some shadows in here. Okay, and some shadows here. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and just do Control J to duplicate that layer one more time. Right click, create clippy mask, fill it in with black. And I'm just gonna make some darker shadows, the closer to the hand. Okay, that looks good. Okay, let me just fix that a bit. Okay, it looks good. I'm gonna lower the opacity to 50 real quick. And now what we're going to do is create a dodge and burn. Now let's do the dodge and burn. So you want to go into your comp 5 here, and above everything you just want to create a new layer, create a clippy mask, shift F5 so you could fill it with 50% gray, and then just click OK. And then you'll hit soft light for your blending mode. Zoom in here, and let's go to our tools bar and select the dodge tool. We'll keep the exposure at 7. Then you'll just go ahead and add some highlights in here. I like this method just because it gives it a sense of dimension. Okay, and I'm just gonna go in here painting some highlights in. Zoom out. I want to take your time doing this. I'm just gonna do it pretty quickly since I don't want the tutorial to be too long. And some right here. Make it look nice. Okay. Let me zoom out. You always want to zoom in and out to see how it's looking. I like that. I'll name this Dodge. I'm gonna go ahead and move into the other comp 1, create a new layer, clipping mask, shift F5, fill it with soft light, and then do the same thing right here. Just start painting in those highlights. You don't have to do the dodge and burn, it's all up to you. I just like the way it looks. If you overdo it, it takes away that sense of like that realistic feel to it. But it's alright, it depends what you're trying to do, you know. Okay, let me see that. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna name this Dodge. I'm trying not to overdo it. Move on to my comp 2, create a new layer, right click, shift F5, create a clipping mask, fill it, soft light. And then I'm gonna go in here and start adding that Dodge. Go over here on this side. There, up here, zoom out. I don't like how the glove came out on this one that I'm working on because there's too many wrinkles in it. Just kind of distracts you. But that's alright. It is what it is. Okay. Zoom out. Okay. Now let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks nice. I'm gonna go ahead and name that Dodge. Move on to my comp 3, new layer, create clipping mask, shift F5, fill with gray, set the blending mode to soft light. And let me zoom in over here. Get my Dodge. And just start painting it. Zoom out. I like that. Name this Dodge. I'm gonna go back into comp 5 and add some more in here. Some more of that Dodge. Here and right here. I think that was a bit too much. Let me go back. I like that. And then I'm gonna create a new layer, right click, create clipping mask, and this is gonna be the burn. So it's pretty much the same thing. You make your gray layer and soft light. Then you go to your tools bar, get the burn tool, exposure at 7. And then you can add your shadows in here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one below the, now keep it up here. Okay. Kind of really don't need to do the burn because there's already plenty of shadows in here. But I'm just gonna go ahead and see how this ends up looking. Let me zoom out. And let's see how this looks. Yeah, it looks good. You don't have to do this, but I'm just gonna do it for this one. And let me zoom out again. Okay, that looks good. Must switch the opacity to 80%. And then we'll go to my comp one, do the same thing. Or you could just do it on the same dodge layer, but you're gonna mix your dodge and burn in the same layer, which I'm not sure you want to do, but it's up to you. Okay. Get my burn tool, and I'm gonna do it right here because this part's kind of too bright, so just get some shadows in here. Out. Okay, just gonna add a few more of this. Add some right here. Out. And that looks good. I'll go ahead and name this burn. Go back into my comp 2, create a new layer. Shift F5. And the other one's not gonna need that burn, so we'll leave that how it is. Okay, let me zoom in here. Get my burn. And just start brushing. Zoom out. I'm just gonna get this part's a bit bright. Okay, I like how that looks. And we'll name this burn. Next, I'm going to go into my frame, create a new one, new layer, create clipping mask, F5, and set the blending one to soft light. And I'm just going to add some highlights into that frame. Make this brighter. Right here. Okay. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, like, yeah, I'll set the opacity to 50. Okay. And I'll name this Dodge. See how this is looking. It's looking nice. So we're pretty much done with our blending. Next we'll get into our color grading. Okay, so let's get started with the color grading. So what I'm gonna do is create a photo filter, and I'm just gonna warm up the image. So I'm gonna go up here and click photo filter. And then you could mess around with the density here, and you can see it gives you a nice how would I say it? A desaturated orange, and it also applies to the hands right here. So it applies to everything, obviously, because it's a layer above all of them. And let's see which one I like here. I think I'm gonna go for a 70, and maybe, yeah, I'll do 70. So for my density is gonna be at 70. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do Control G to group it, and I'm just gonna name this color grading. Okay, and I'm gonna right click the group, and I'm gonna change the color of it to yellow. So now I know that this is the color grading group. Go to the background here and just select that. Okay, and in that same color grading, I'm gonna create a selective color. Then I'm just gonna mess around with these different colors, and let's see what we could get. We'll go to my blacks, and let's see. You can see if you mess around with the yellow right here, if you drag it to the left, it gives you a blue fade to it. I think I'm gonna do +2 on the yellow. Keep this at 0. And keep that at 0. I'm gonna go to my neutrals, and so it's just pretty much about messing around with your settings and seeing what looks better. Well, it depends on what you're trying to achieve, the type of color. For this, I really don't have a specific color I want to achieve. I just gonna mess around with the settings here. I really like how it looks. Don't see if I should add anything else. Okay, yeah, so I'm just gonna, on my blacks, I'm just gonna do 3 on the yellow. That's pretty much it. And then above this, I'm gonna create a curves and bring up some highlights. Go ahead and put the curves below all these. Not gonna do anything. I like how that looks. I think there's a bit too much. The yellow's too bright though. Yeah, so with my curves, I'm just gonna maybe around the highlights and the shadows just a little bit, but it makes a huge difference. I'll go ahead and put this to 50%. That way it's not too much. Okay. And that's pretty much all I'm doing for my color grading. So we are done with that. Next we'll get into our final refinements. Now let's jump into our final refinements. So in the final refinements, what we would like to do is just tweak around a couple settings, maybe the positioning, the scaling of things, and just give it that final touch. And so I'm gonna zoom in here, and I can see that there's this weird dark spot on the glove right here. So I'm gonna go in there and just get my clone stamp tool, and the shortcut for that is S. I'm just gonna go ahead and cover that up right there. Okay. Then you can see down here on the frame, we also have some sort of white thing right there. And I'm gonna go into the frame and fix that up. So S, and then just clone stamp. And since, whoops, it doesn't clear all the way because we're doing it on the Topaz layer, and we have it on 75%, so it's still transparent. So we have to go to the frame and do the same thing there as well. So with S, whoops, let me go back. You wanna, if you go up here to the little lock transparent pixels, it's only gonna lock in the pixels right here, and if you go outside the boundary, it doesn't add any other pixels, so that's good. Okay, so I took that away. Maybe even this whole glare right here, you could fix that, but I'm not gonna do it just because it's gonna take too long. So let me lower down the volume real quick. I'm not sure if you guys heard that scream, but there's kids playing outside, and just ignore that. Okay, so if you look down here too, I'm not liking the shadow, so I'm gonna go into my shadows for the frame. Go right here in the layer mask, B for my brush tool. Make that a little bit bigger. Make sure the hardness is all the way down. Opacity, I'm gonna do 25%, 20%. I'm just gonna go ahead and clear this out a bit. Okay, let me see how this looks. That's looking a bit better. Okay. And just, I'm gonna put down my opacity a bit more. I'll do 7. I still want a bit of that shadow in there, so I'm not gonna get rid of it all. Change my brush. Okay, let me zoom out, see how it's looking. Let me clear it out again. I'm not liking how it's looking. Still not liking that. Okay. Okay, that looks better. So I fixed that up. See what other stuff we can fix around here. This part right here, we go into the frame and just clear that part. So S, and I'm just gonna make that disappear. Okay, that looks good. I'm not liking this part right here. The frame is just like has this highlight, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm going to make a levels and bring down the highlights. Okay, like that. And then I'm gonna fill it with black. Let me get my brush. I'll put my hardness all the way up, opacity all the way up, and then I'm just gonna paint this part so I can make it darker. So I don't like how it's all light. Okay, and we're almost done. Whoops, I switched my tool by accident. Zoom out. Okay, you see that looks way better than how it looked before. Just that weird white part right there. Okay. What you can also do is go to your shadows right here. And then you could go to hue and saturation, create clippy mask, click colorize, and then go into your yellows right here. And just add like a yellow tint to it. You can see how it kind of works right there. Actually kind of like it. So I'm just going to keep it that way. Yeah, I like how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and do Control J to duplicate that. And I'm going to bring it all the way up. And I'm going to apply it to the shadows on the hand. The cast shadows. On this one right here. And go into my shadows. Bring that hue. Create a clippy mask. And it might be too much on there. So we'll just adjust it. So all you gotta do is bring down the saturation a bit. We'll lower the opacity to 50%. Okay, I like how that looks. Hit File, Save. Make sure to save your file. That's pretty much it for our refinements. I'm just gonna go ahead and merge it and sharpen the image. So let me disable the color grading. So with clicking on the most above layer right here, do Control Shift Alt E, and then it merges all the layers below it. And then you can just name this details. Set the blending mode to vivid light, and then go to filter, other, high pass, and make sure I always use 2. So I'm gonna click on 2. And if we zoom in, we can see how it adds that sharpness to it. You can see that. Then go ahead and put your color grading on there, your noise, and the parental sticker if you want. And that's pretty much it for, that looks weird down here, but that's fine. And that's pretty much it for the refinements. And that pretty much does it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I hope you guys learned something. If you guys have any suggestions for future videos or have any questions, just go ahead and leave it down in the comment section below. I read all comments and reply to all comments. The PSD is down in the description where you can download it. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.